that's really started appealing to me, and it made it so that, you know, the end of 2017, early 2018, I had a lot more money because I sold my Ethereum and then I bought back in shortly after, and I just held, and I had something to show for it. And at the time, my thinking was, I don't know where the top is. I know we're going to have another dip. I don't know where the dip is. I'm going to just hold and buy the dip. I don't have enough wealth, I felt, in crypto to really like lose a lot if I lose a lot of value. I'd rather just, let's just basically dollar cost average. And I don't think that was, it makes sense. I'm less and less willing to hold through bear markets the longer I'm in crypto. But it worked. And so I bought the dip. And in the meantime, I was, you know, I really care. I love original thinkers that value rationality and truth. And Richard Hart, I don't know when I first started watching Richard Hart, but it was when most people weren't. And he really was like, I was like, oh, I love hearing what this guy thinks because it's different than I hear from a lot of other people. So I was kind of a Richard Hart fan. And, you know, then he starts talking about his token that's coming out. And I knew that I was really looking for, what are these good tokens that I can get in on early? The lower the price, the better, and that I can hold. And I was like, I was spending a lot of time listening to people that did not like HEX because I wanted to know what the best arguments were against it. And I was actually kind of motivated because there were a lot of intelligent people that, for whatever reason, were very emotionally against HEX. And I was like waiting for, what are these explanations for why HEX is bad? And they tended to be in the camp of emotion, which was not an explanation. It was a feeling of why HEX would be bad. But I want to know, like, besides your gut feeling, like, what is actually, like, what can I actually decide for myself? What explanation can I use myself to apply to HEX and be like, oh, this isn't going to work? And I really couldn't find them. And there were people that had what I would say is rational, good explanations against HEX based on false premises. They did not understand HEX. And so their conclusions, you know, there was a rational argument based on a misunderstanding. And that's basically what I was finding. And so I was like, I can't see a good reason right now why HEX is going to do terribly. I see reasons, but I don't see like strong, good reasons. And the fact that HEX was relatively original was, for me, it's like, I didn't know that HEX was going to do incredibly well. But I couldn't see why it wouldn't do well either. And so I put some in, got it on the first day. And I was actually pretty encouraged when the price started going down over the next month or so, because I was like, great. I have an ability to get more of supply, because I was really planning to just go in on the first day and that would be it. But the price just kept going down. And so I kept buying more. And I remember at the time, I felt like I was spending a lot of money on HEX. And looking back now, it's kind of pathetically small. And I think some of, like, I remember the emotion. And I think some of my emotion, like, why did I feel like I was spending so much on HEX? I think it was because I was holding my Ethereum through the dip, trying to collect it, because I liked, and I still do like, Ethereum. And I was basically giving my Ethereum away to this new project, and I was seeing my $1,400 Ethereum being given away at $100 or whatever it was the time for HEX, and I was like, "Ooh, this is really painful." What made
you keep going too? Like you said, you were okay with price going down, but you just kept going. I'm just curious, like, at the time, how did you reconcile that? How did you say that was a good financial decision?
Right. How was it a good financial decision to give up my Ethereum in the dip for HEX? Why did I think that? I think it was because, kind of like because this was a new project that I saw a lot of misguided reasoning for why it wouldn't do well. That to me looked like opportunity. And the fact that even after it started, the FUD was real. And to me, the FUD was based, as best as I could tell, not on reality. It didn't mean that it would do well. It was just the reasons people didn't want to invest did not seem valid to me. And so it looked like opportunity. Like if everyone just loved HEX right off the beginning, I wouldn't have been able to get a meaningful portion of supply because the competition would have been a lot higher. I saw this, like, ironically, like the fact that people didn't like it to me was all the more reason to have a chance of actually having something to show for it. And
and all the reasons too, it's just going back to your point of like, you could not find a valid reason like why this wouldn't work. You were looking to all these streamers who, you watched for a long time, you thought you really, respected them and thought they were intelligent, but nobody could say why HEX was a scam, like why it was bad. They just had this huge emotional response to
compelling. There were not compelling reasons for me. And I was really trying to understand why this was not going to work, and I couldn't figure. I could not myself come up with a good explanation of why it was going to completely fail. And so I was like, I want to put enough in to matter if this does well, and I don't want to pretend like I thought it was going to just explode like it did. I didn't know, but I wanted to put enough in so that if it did well, I'd have something to show for it. I wanted to put. I didn't want to go too heavy either because my certainty was what it was. It wasn't like I knew. And so to me it was enough. Let's take some of my Ethereum, put it in here. And I just felt like I needed to put more in to really matter if it went up. And I felt like it was going to take a while before HEX would really catch on, if it was going to catch on. And so I was really reluctant to sell in a lot of the first run-ups. And I had friends and other people that knew about HEX around me, and they were like, sell. When it 5x'd, my wife was like, wow, this is done great. Are we going to sell? And I was like, if this is, I cannot see a good reason to sell yet. And, when it 50x'd is the same thing. I don't see this slowing down yet. I think we're going to have massive dips, and just seeing HEX recover from the dips was a reason for me to keep holding. And so, I mean, that's Richard Hart is one reason why I got into HEX. I saw HEX as an opportunity because I wanted to get in on good projects early, have enough to matter if the price went up. The fact that it was FUDded and I couldn't see a good reason for it was all the more reason to weight HEX more highly, and in my book. And so I just acted on that, and it turned out very well. So yeah.
Do you think the I guess the pitfall a lot of people fall into with projects that have the runway that HEX has and PulseChain will have and things like that, where you think they look at this stuff could go up 100x, 1000x, 10,000x, whatever it is, but in their mind when they buy it, they think, I'm just looking for a 2x or 3x or 5x. So when it gets to that point, they're like, okay, internally, my subconscious is like, no, that's enough. That's all I expected out of it. And then they sell it early, or they sell it at the lows or whatever. Do you think like that's one of the biggest? It seems like, saying something, I guess almost being the meme. The meme is, yeah, I'm going to hold this for a long time, but when it actually happens, you're like, oh no, I'm going to get out now. What if it goes to zero? That kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I think I was really influenced to not sell HEX because of my past failures, because I sold Bitcoin and Ethereum at the wrong time. And then I also realized that the people that have the most money to show for it are the people that held, and they held through the dips. And it's like, I didn't think if HEX was going to do well, it wasn't going to do well in the first couple months. And it probably wasn't going to be the first year. It was going to have a couple years to really show what potential there was there. And I'm like, I will watch this go to zero before I lose the opportunity that, like, if like Ethereum and all these other tokens, they didn't just start out great. They went through dips first, and it's like, if HEX is going to be those things, I'm going to have to hold through those dips too, and to find out. And I'm really willing to do that. And then, of course, I was also staked, and when I staked, I kind of forced myself for the most part to be along for the ride, and
saved yourself.
But yeah, and but I was really happy to do that because I wanted to hold it anyway.
So Ethereum and Bitcoin were practiced for HEX. I like it.
Yeah.